Oh yeah, okay. So I'm Christopher Sean Watson. I am the anti-human trafficking program manager with Bay Area Women Against Rape. Nice to meet you all. All right. So what was your question again?
Why is child prostitution unethical?
Why is it unethical?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess I take it for granted that the assumption is that selling children for sex is wrong. But I mean, I guess the main reason that it's unethical is because it's illegal. And the main reason that it's illegal is because a child can't consent to having sex, which is why using the word child prostitution is actually like offensive and kind of a misnomer. Because if a child can't even consent to have sex, then if they're having sex for money, then that's actually not considered child prostitution. That's actually considered rape.
Okay.
So I think that that's the main reason it's unethical. I also think it's unethical because it basically hurts the community. It increases the rate of STDs that are circulating within the community. Is very dangerous, not only for the clients, but also for the people who are buying sex as well as the broader community. Wherever there's the selling of sex, there's also an increase in crime a lot of times. Some of it is related to gang activity. Others of it is just related to, people who really don't have nothing to lose and the things that they'll do to other people, especially to women, because we tend to devalue women. So I guess that's another reason that it's unethical, is because it disproportionately impacts women. So
Sure. And what are some of the policies against child prostitution or forced sex slaves?
I mean, so the California law that governs the selling of sex is called 247B, which basically means that you can't sell sex for money. You can't exchange money for sex to anyone. And if you do that, whether you are the person who is the actual selling, the seller, which is, we typically think of as being a prostitute, but a lot of these women aren't being prostitutes. They're victims of human trafficking. But even if they are selling sex, like legally, that's still illegal under 246 or 247B. It's also illegal to buy sex under 247B. So that would mean not only the person who is actually selling the sex, not only is it illegal for them to do it, but it's also illegal for the person who is actually buying sex, which is really controversial because a lot of people think that we should decriminalize, the sex work for the person who is selling the sex and just increase the penalties for the person who is actually buying the sex, which I agree with, but we're just not there right now as far as the law goes. So, I mean, essentially that's the law around prostitution, but keep in mind that since a child can't consent to have sex, it's not only considered a 246-7B, it's also considered what they call a 261, which is rape. So any child who is forced into selling sex, or even who consents to selling sex, since a child can't consent legally to having sex, that's actually considered sexual assault. So I guess those would be the two governing policies around, or the governing laws around the selling of sex and child human trafficking.
Okay.
Or what they call sexually or commercially and sexually exploited children.
Okay.
Or CSEC.
And last question would be, how do you think we could prevent child prostitution?
Oh man, that's a pretty broad question, but I think it's going to take a multifaceted approach. So there's the individual things that we can do as individuals. There are the things that we can do within our community, and then there's also the things that we can do as far as the system, laws, policies, and different things like that. So as individuals, we can, basically let men know that it's unethical to buy sex, whether it's from somebody who's a child or even an adult, because it increases crime within the community. It's demeaning to, to the people that they're in relationship with. A lot of families are broken up because men engage in buying sex, exchanging sex for money. So we can talk to the men in our lives and let them know that it's wrong and hold them accountable. We can talk to the women in our lives and let them know that they're beautiful, that they're valuable, they're worthy. They don't have to sell sex in order to feel like they're valued. Just kind of let them know that, kind of the tricks of the, basically men out there who are, exploiting them, they use these, tricks. They try and manipulate them, get them to believe that, they're the only ones who care about them, they love them. Just making women and specifically girls feel valued, I think is really important on the individual level. I think on the community level is us letting the people who come into our communities to buy sex, letting them know that that's not okay. And so that can be, even if a man drives up and we think that he's scoping out the neighborhood to try and find somebody to buy sex from, taking a picture of his license plate. Obviously you want to keep everyone safe. So, but maybe even if you have a group of elders within the community, so men approaching him and being like, hey, I don't know what you're doing in our community, but we just want to let you know that we have an issue with people who come into our community to buy sex. So
Right.
on the community level, you can talk to children, go and do prevention education in schools. You can, go and even go door to door and knock on people's door and let them know that, human trafficking is an issue and that they can do something about it. So I think that on the institutional level, we can change, laws, like the policies that we were talking about earlier. We didn't get into some of the specific things that can change, but changing laws, for example, like sometimes in in a lot of places, children are arrested for basically being victims of human trafficking. So I think not arresting children is a good law to change. So that's an example of how we can make systemic change. So there are other laws on the books also that, I think are problematic. And I think getting those laws changed, because oftentimes there's not a cultural shift until there's a shift in the way that we see things legally. You think about the civil rights movement. People are like, well, you can't change hearts. Well, you can't change hearts, but if you can change laws, then you can basically let people know and establish a mandate that certain things are, not socially acceptable. And then by that, I don't know what this cat is doing, but this is the example of guys that you want to talk to and let them know that, human trafficking isn't okay or whatever, because, they got that hyper-masculinity thing
Right,
going or whatever.
right.
But I'm not, I don't really know them like that, so I'm not
Right,
trying to smash
right,
on them or nothing like that.
right.
But yeah, that was just like, I don't know what that was. So
And
anyway,
then last question, and we can wrap things up, but what would you say the rates or child prostitution in California Bay Area alone?
So the rates. So that the statistics vary. I can just say for Baywar, our organization, we serve about 250 clients a year. So that's 250 children on the streets of Oakland or on the internet who are being sold for sex. And not all of them are from Oakland, you know what I'm saying? Some of these kids, come as far as, Sacramento or even, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. I have clients from different areas. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Perfect.
Yeah. I think there was something else that I didn't really answer. So the numbers. So that's when it comes. We're focusing on children. So as far as children who are trafficked, we say about 250 children a year. But there's research that suggests that about 250,000 to 300,000 children a year in the United States of America are at risk of being trafficked. So that doesn't mean that amount of children are being trafficked.
Right.
But if you think about it, there's only 30 million people in the United States.
Right.
So if 300,000 children are susceptible or at risk of being trafficked, that's not an insignificant number. It's not minuscule. So yeah, I think that it's a serious problem, and I think it's a problem that we can combat. So.
Right. Cool. All right. Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Christopher Sean Watson, everyone.
Wow.